To help students gain hands-on experience in building a dataops pipeline that moves data from external systems to the cloud, we have designed this practical dataops lab. We use the New York City taxi data as our raw data source, which is publicly available. Our ultimate goal was to extract the raw data, clean it, and analyze the zone-level monthly revenue through an automated pipeline. Getting started is easy. You would need to go to the lab infra setup dataops repo and then clone that repo to your local machine. Go to that folder and you would need to update the variables TF file to replace all the variables to your own personal variables. For example, update the subscription ID to yours, update the DevOps personal access token to your own, etc. And after that setup, you would need to do Terraform init and Terraform apply in the terminal to deploy all these resources to the Azure portal. After the deployment is complete, you will be able to see that message and also be able to go to the portal to see all the resources deployed. Next step, we would need to go to the Databricks to set up the personal access token for Databricks so that the pipeline can access the Databricks. You would update the Databricks personal access token in the variables TF and then run Terraform apply again to make sure this token change is also reflected in the pipeline. Next step, we're going to clone the repo the dataops pipeline is going to read, and then put the files we provided into this repo. These files define the pipeline process, such as what resources are used for the dataops process, and how are they connected to each other. Specifically, this YAML file defines a pipeline automation from ingesting the New York City taxi data via the HTTP source into the Azure Data Factory to processing it in Databricks and then finally exporting the results to Synapse Analytics for data modeling. After we edit the files, we can then commit the changes and then push the commit to the remote repo, which would be read by the Azure DataOps pipeline. And then finally, we're going to the data factory to set up the HTTP source for the New York City taxi data. This process has to be done manually because currently Terraform does not support auto deployment of the HTTP data source. We would create the linked service for the HTTP source and then add that linked service to the dataset we have for HTTP. Now the setup is complete, and before we run the pipeline, we're going to check the blob storage, and we can see that there is only a CSV file that we would use in the future that's hard-coded right there, and go to Synapse that we are also going to use later in the pipeline, and we can see that in the table section there's no existing table, and in the future these resources will be populated with raw data and processed data. So now we would go to DevOps and then start running the New York City taxi pipeline. In the first run, you would need to go to the first step, trigger Azure Data Factory pipeline, and then give this process permission. And then you would be able to see that our pipeline is currently running, and there are in total 4 stages. There's trigger Azure Data Factory pipeline, there's process raw data in Databricks, export clean data to Synapse, and finally execute Synapse SQL for data modeling. And this process would run for approximately 5 minutes and would eventually finish. You would be able to see the entire process over here. I'm going to fast forward this to let you see how it runs through without taking too much of our time. You can see that the pipeline has run through 3 stages and now is on its final one and is about to be complete. As you can see, the deployment was complete, and now we will go to the resources that are used in the pipeline to check whether the files are being extracted. You can see the file is extracted from the HTTP source, and we go to Databricks. You would be able to see that data cleaning and writing into Synapse were done in Databricks in 2 different workflows. That was data cleaning, and this one is Synapse export data to Synapse. And then finally, we'll go to Synapse to see that now it's populated with different tables. These are originally the table we have cleaned in Databricks and exported here. And there's the taxi zone lookup table that's being hard-coded and extracted from the blob storage. And then finally, the fact strip table, which shows the taxi revenue together with the different zones, showing the zone-based monthly revenue. So yeah. The lab gave me valuable hands-on experience with automation, CI/CD, and the ETL process, concepts I had previously only studied in theory. Now I know how to implement and run a complete dataops workflow on Azure.